I'll introduce myself. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Nafta Momela. I'm a professor of electrical and computer engineering here at the Viterbi School of Engineering. I'm also the vice dean for research at the Viterbi School. It's a true pleasure to be with you today. Thank you so much for coming and gracing us with your presence. It is my distinct pleasure to extend a warm Trojan welcome to all of you on campus, and also I know we have quite a few people joining us online, and welcome to everybody online as well. So as you know, we are here to celebrate the establishment of a new center at the USC Viterbi School, the Ershaghi Center for Energy Transition, or E-Cet. This new center will bring together thought leaders from academia and industry to collaborate on research and educational programs that will foster major efforts towards a low-carbon future. E-Cet will also be a pioneer in enabling USC to become a leader in sustainability research, spreading its reach across campus and forging collaborations with multidisciplinary researchers and other schools at USC as well. A true pioneer. We're grateful to USC Viterbi and USC Marshall alumnus, Gary Budman. Where's Gary? Gary, all the way back. And his wife Mary. For the generosity and support of this center. Thank you very much. The center is named to honor Professor Ershaghi. This year celebrates 50 years as a faculty member. More about the center, the fundaments, and Dr. Ershaghi in a few moments. I'd like to take a quick few moments to recognize some of other special guests besides the Budman family and the Ershaghi family. It was a real pleasure to meet the extended families here, so thanks so much all for being here. Also, I believe we have USC trustee, serving Board of Councilors member John. Also, we have a USC Vice President for Research, Professor Ishwar Puri. I know he's here. Ishwar. And also, we have members of the Moore Family Department Advisory Board, Kaveh Dehani. So now I would like to invite my colleague, Dr. Don Paul, to say a few words. Don is the Executive Director of the USC Energy Institute and the holder of the William M. Keck Chair of Energy Resources here at USC. Don previously was the Vice President and CTO at Chevron Corporation, who retired from Chevron in 2008. Don.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. It's just great to see the turnout. It's great to see how many people both engaged with what we're doing at USC, but to honor Gary and Mary for what they're doing, and to honor our esteemed colleague, Raj. I'll have a couple of specific comments about that, but specifically, Gary and Mary, I want to thank you for your generous donation to set up the Ershaghi Center for Energy Transition. In particular, I want to thank you for the vision of doing this at this time. I don't know if there could be a more important time to establish a center around the energy transition. Certainly, present-day events have starkly shown us that, frankly, nothing is more central to the functioning of the world than energy. Okay. But Gary, as you know, as a veteran industry, John, myself, Raj, we all know that the oil and gas industry face a dual challenge right now. we have to deliver the energy that society needs, but we also have to evolve to meet society's expectations about a lower carbon future. That dual challenge is what I think the Center for Energy Transition is about. And of course, Raj and many others who have long produced leadership in the energy industry from the petroleum engineering program at USC. This center, I think, opens the pathway for USC to continue to provide leaders for the energy transition. Finally, on a personal note, I want to thank you, Raj, for being my friend and colleague all these years. And his contributions, as everyone in this room, everyone online around the world, knows that Raj's contributions to USC, Viterbi, to the industry, but most importantly, to the students. To the students.
You're being paid by students.
But the students, you know, when I think of what, in my mind, and I've been here now 13 years, but in my mind, if the word professor came in the truest and highest sense of the word, it would be a Raj. Person who educates, who advises, who builds lives and leaders. And I think this center is an exciting new way to evolve the future of energy. So with that, thank you, and appreciate your attention.
Thanks, Don. Very truly spoken, and thanks for your words. Now I have the pleasure of introducing the Dean of USC Viterbi School of Engineering, Dr. Ioannis Diortsos. Since June of 2005, Dean Diortsos has led our school as we have developed, grown, created, and invented. His vision can be captured via a short list of noble aspirations that are key in enabling engineering to converge with pretty much every other scientific and technology discipline. And I'm going to paraphrase your vision, yes. So the four pillars that Ioannis has frequently talked about are attracting the best talent, whether it's faculty, students, or staff, number one. Number two, continuously innovating in programs and in infrastructure. Third one being addressing grand challenges, and the fourth one being advancing technology, innovation, and entrepreneurship. So with that, Ioannis, I really want to
Thank you, Mala. And it's so wonderful to see all of you here. I see some faces that I have not seen in a while. I will single out a very special person who's here. It's Vega Sampur. Vega used to work for Sharon. She was my TA at Caltech when I was a PhD student there. So Vega, my work was trying to do something on coal gasification. That was back way there. And Vega looked at my experiment and says, I don't think this is going to fly. And since then, I abandoned any idea for experimental work and became a theoretician, which was actually my true calling anyway. So it was good to see. And it's wonderful to see so many of you here, so many people that actually I interacted with when I first came at USC. I think Jalal Dorado is here, just joined us from Cal State Long Beach. And who was a graduate student when I was starting as an assistant professor. So we go back so many years. It's so wonderful to see all of you here. It's really special. Today we look to the future, but also we look to the past. And so When I first joined USC, we had I had two department chairs to report to. One was Joe Goddard in chemical engineering. The other was Lyman Handy in petroleum engineering. Lyman, a venerable person with tremendous legacy, and he left us a little too early. We really remember him, his leadership. He was Siraj's professor and advisor, and Lyman was a wonderful man, and we miss him sorely. One of the chairs there, Joe Goddard, said to me, engineering is about three things: energy, materials, and information. And that stuck with me since then, because in many ways, these are three things that we rotate around in many different ways. Today we say exactly the same thing, except that we have also expanded this definition to cover grand challenge things. Just like the National Academy of Engineering grand challenges, we put things into different buckets. A bucket on sustainability, a bucket on security, a bucket on health, and a bucket on enriching life. And this is a grand challenges program that actually we started here at USC back in 2009, and actually it has become a blueprint for, I think, the future of undergraduate engineering education to some extent, and it has been grown to many different areas, many different parts across the world. The issue here is that exponential change in technology and the pace of technological discovery and applications continue in an accelerating way. We see this every day in front of us. However, the digital world, which helps advance so much of our lives today, still depends significantly on both materials and energy. This is something that we do not recognize. We think that somehow there's a magic out there about the digital world that ignores the physical world. And I don't think this is going to be the case, particularly as the digital world is accelerating in applications, in which case the corresponding energy needs are actually even higher than ever before. So these fundamental things still continue to be the backbone of what we do. And I think many of the things that we do in the more family department of chemical engineering material science includes materials and energy. And as we have lost our chair.
Don't forget petroleum.
I remember that as well. And you know, we talk about the nexus between energy and water, but I think the nexus is bigger than that. It's energy and water and materials as well. I think this is very much a part of this. Imagine if we have a scarcity in photovoltaics, or imagine if we have a scarcity in lithium-ion batteries. All the renewable energy constructs require still access to material. Give you I had a conversation yesterday with Terry Adams, who is on our board of councilors, and he is in the recycling business for metals. And he tells me that it's so important that we keep attention to the fact that we don't have the understanding that somehow popular, it is a concept, which is an erroneous concept to some extent, that somehow all this will be in great abundance until forever. And that's actually something that we have to keep in mind as well if we talk about sustainability. I'll go into one more area, which is that knowledge or information differs from materials or energy. The more you consume materials and energy, knowledge, the more you generate. That's kind of an interesting thing. The more knowledge you consume, the more knowledge you generate, as opposed to materials and energy, where the more you consume, the less you generate in many ways, because you have other things to worry about. But in order for this to be possible, again, the world will continue to need abundant forms of energy and power, increasingly produced more efficiently, and with the promise of both increased abundance and a more sustainable environment. These are things that we discussed earlier today. And this is where the understanding of how to engineer energy transition in ways that are efficient and also promising for real impact with minimal unintended consequences. And this is what comes to the fore. This is what this center is all about. USC, Los Angeles, and Southern California have been at the forefront of energy production for a very long time. Since, in fact, USC was founded, or definitely since engineering school was founded. We have helped understand the science and engineering of the subsurface. All the talent here that I see has been involved in this area one way or another. And we train thousands of professionals who work in the energy industry, for the benefit of humankind. Today, our challenge is equally complex to move in the direction of how to ensure a smooth transition to a future of low carbon emissions, but also to plentifully supply energy and power to keep the fueling the solution of our grand challenges. I should also mention that the grand challenge of engineering in the area of sustainability, an important one is carbon sequestration, which is actually how to better sequester carbon, which is one of the goals of this particular center that we're talking about. This is why E-Cet is such an important new center. And in this effort, we have a previous shining example, which is called E-Cet. E-Cet started at USC in 2003. It was started as utilized a combination of what we can call engineering plus, in which at that time was subsurface plus digital. I remember Don Paul, who came in with the idea here at USC to help Chevron establish a center in this area. And I remember very well Don talking about molecules and digits. I remember it as it was yesterday, Don, when we first advocated this center. At that time, I said, what is this guy talking about, molecules and digits? You know, they were talking about 2003, where the digital revolution was not upon us to the extent that it is now. A visionary like Don helped establish here at USC that center that combined our expertise in petroleum with the subsurface, along with computer science and electrical engineering. Ershaghi, who is here, the department chair of computer science, has been a big recipient of the generosity of E-Cet in many different ways. Yes, Cyrus? And I expect that E-Cet is going to go in this same direction in many different ways for a very successful future as well. At that time, Chevron was the initial seed fund for this, which then grew into a very robust funding for a long time. Today, we have two new towering champions. This is Gary Putman and his wife, Mary. Gary is there, Mary is there. And a large part in this effort to make it a work. They understand that developing the means for energy transition requires a focused effort in both instruction and research, and this center is going to do just that. This generous gift will support student fellowships, will support curriculum development, and also will provide research funding. And our goal is to multiply many multiple ways to be able to attract interest from many other areas that will come in here and see how we can shape the future of the transition to a low carbon future. Equally importantly, E-Cet will graciously honor Professor Ershaghi, who distinguished himself in the hydrocarbon energy field for many decades. Now he will focus his abundant, renewable, and sustainable energy, personal energy and talent in accelerating this transition. I met Iraj when I first interviewed at USC back, some time ago. And Iraj at the time was an assistant professor. And I came from Greece, as you probably know from my accent, and I talked to Iraj, and Iraj was for me like the big brother, because I understood a lot the culture that he was coming from. He was very kind, warm, clever, giving me directions on what to do things, and he was a big supporter of my career from the very beginning till today. And just like Don owes to him the tremendous gratitude for support and help, I do as well, Iraj. Thank you for all your help and support all these years. He is created a legacy at USC, which is unparalleled, because he actually single-handedly led the petroleum engineering program since 1987, if I'm not mistaken, when Lyman stepped down as department chair, and he led the program since then in a superb way, graduated so many students, and so many of you are here to pay homage to this remarkable person. He has excelled across all levels with distinction, and the ultimate recognition being that he was elected National Academy of Engineering back in 2014. I was at the annual event when it happened, and I felt tremendous pride to have my colleague also join the academy. So thank you, Iraj, for sharing your life with us. I will also be remiss if I don't mention John Moore, and John Moore's commitment, who is here, to the success of the many things we do at USC. John named the Moore Family Department of Chemical Engineering, Material Science, and Petroleum Engineering, as John was saying, to an amalgam of talent from different areas, which we still try to shape in a significant and important way. It's a good thing we have so many talented faculty here and graduates of the program as well. So John, thank you for your unwavering support and for your commitment to help solve the big energy challenges of the present, of the time, for the benefit of the humanity and the future generations. So, to invite Mary and Gary to come in on the podium and say a few words, recognizing with gratitude and for your generosity.
Speak into the mic, yeah. Oh, I'd like to welcome everyone. Mary and I are thrilled at the support of the kickoff of this center. Everybody online, I know it's tough to get down here, and appreciate everybody who is out there in cyberspace. Originally, when we were talking about creating and advancing a modern energy center on campus, the logical extension was to dovetail with petroleum engineering. That's been the heart of the energy concept here at USC, to further improve the efficient recovery and usage of fossil fuels. But as we talked about this, I took a step back and tried to read the room, really read the world as to what's really going on here. And what we came to was we need to advance the science of economic and scalable and ready available energy, but we need to do it in a sustainable fashion. We need to do it in a lower carbon, or best yet, carbon neutral format. Could there be a more important initiative today? It is in the papers every day. It's on the internet every day. This is the greatest challenge for humanity, and we need to be a part of it. However complex the challenge, the world continues to search for this leadership of this important initiative that we're going to call transitional energy. So who's best suited to advance this technology? The responsibility really lies with the roughly 1 billion people on the planet who have flourished with a higher standard of living due to readily available and abundant energy. That's us. That's us. That's everybody in this room. To additionally service approximately 3 billion people who are living in energy poverty and are desperate for reliable and scalable energy sources, and are many times deemed more vulnerable to a higher carbon footprint cast by others. So a broader question was, how can we create newer and better energy systems with a lower carbon impact that can augment the demand for the 4 building blocks of the modern world? What are those 4 building blocks? Steel, cement, plastics, and fertilizer. Those are the 4 modern building blocks that we need to work in and amongst. So how does USC fit as a leader in energy transition? Well, A, we're energy wealthy. The energy wealthy has to take the lead here. USC has fostered an improved standard of living with the abundant energy that we all have. There are plenty of people here and in Cyberland that have played a role in that. I have. I was educated here in fossil fuels, and I was able to help provide that higher standard of living. And I'm proud to say I played a role in that.
Transition titling, I call it. USC understands that this will be a transitional effort of energy redevelopment. There's not a magic and immediate solution to just go carbon neutral. There's no switch that does that. It doesn't. And Viterbi is well positioned to understand how that works. And then lastly, there's a scope of knowledge on this campus that is unrivaled. I don't know if the room knows, there are over 6,000 petroleum derivative products outside of basic heating and transportation. Over 6,000. A lot of them are in the medical field. And USC is best positioned to understand the interrelationships because of everything on this campus to create the interrelationships necessary to search and test for lower carbon and zero carbon alternatives. So today, the Ershaghi Center for Energy Transition is born. Raj, you taught me everything I know, brother. You and Lyman ran that department, and I'm forever indebted to you. It's time to take the next step. So I'd like everybody here and everybody online to join me and the extremely talented minds at USC Viterbi as we forge ahead to new frontiers of transitional energy science. Tomorrow's leaders want to be a part of creating a lower carbon future. They do. Let's be the first to turn that desire into a reality. Thank you.
Gary, thank you for your inspirational words. Thank you very much, Gary. Thank you. As well. So now it's time to hear from our friend and colleague, Professor Ershaghi. So Professor Ershaghi is the Omar B. Milligan Professor and Director of the Petroleum Engineering Program here at USC. He received his bachelor's degree in petroleum engineering from the University of Tehran, and he's an MS and PhD in petroleum engineering from USC. In recognition of his outstanding accomplishments, which are too numerous to list here, as Giannis mentioned, he was inducted into the National Academy of Engineering in 2014. It's no exaggeration to say that throughout his extraordinary career, he has taught and mentored thousands of students. Now, I did a very quick calculation, it's in the thousands. Many of you are here today. With that, thank you very much.
You know, when you get to my age, you better have your notes ready. I am touched, and I'm very thankful to all of you who have actually taken the time to be here, supporting the center. And I'm particularly thankful to many of you who traveled from different parts of the US to be here. And also more than 100 people who are actually watching this program from all over the US and all over the world. I'm totally indebted to that. I should say that the colleagues who are going to be working with me already are very thankful and appreciate your presence and support. And that's very important in terms of the impact that the center will have on the life of every one of us. We are actually starting or celebrating the start of a new center. And this is center that will study matters that will impact the life of the humanity. The center focus that was mentioned by Dean Yorsis, Don Paul, and Gary is energy transition. And you know, when you talk about transition in everything, it makes you uncomfortable because you know, you don't know what's going to happen to your comfort zone. You know, you're accustomed to a certain way that you get from point A to point B. You're accustomed to having access to lots of things in life, and all of a sudden they're going to take away those things from you. So you don't know how this is going to turn out. It's going to affect you. But we have experiences in the history of the world, as many of you know. I don't remember, but they tell me that 170 years ago, we switched from biomass, which is burning wood, to coal. And as we switched to petroleum 120 years ago, that was the beginning of a modern transportation. All of a sudden, we were able to get from any point in the world to another point. With airplanes, we could not have done that. We could not have changed the civilization if it wasn't for the invention of liquid petroleum or liquid gasoline, basically, or liquid fuel. So we saw how the liquid fuels actually resulted in a new modern civilization. Now, I shouldn't say that, but you all know that, as was mentioned by Gary, more than several thousand products are made out of petroleum. I mean, all of you have laptops. There's a laptop over here. This laptop would not be here if it wasn't for a plastic that actually makes the case out of it. And if you look at what you're wearing, most of the fabrics that you have in your clothing probably came from petroleum. So petroleum actually is not just as a fuel or as a source of energy. It is actually many products that our civilization depend on. The health industry, the computer industry, the construction industry, and agriculture. But when we switched to petroleum, we still continue the use of coal. As you know, coal still has been used, or is still being used in many parts of the country. And we did not really attend very seriously to the problem that coal has. And as many of you, we've heard about the problems in China and other places. All of a sudden, we realized we should have done something. If we're going to continue using coal, we should do something about the carbon dioxide. Now, as we step toward incorporating renewable energy sources, such as solar, such as wind, such as geothermal, and such as nuclear, and we're getting a lot smarter. And not smart in the sense to say that if we're going to continue using this, we have to find out what are the limitations that prevents the evolution of these technologies. And if it's still going to be dependent on petroleum, to some parts for transportation, to some part for fabrics and plastics and whatever application we have from all of these products, we better do something about coming up with a neutral or carbon neutral world. Actually, that's a wrong word. We all use it. I even use it. We call it a carbon neutral world. Carbon is the element of life. There's a lot of carbon over here. Our body is made of carbon, right? So we can't say carbon-free environment. The carbon is everywhere. It's the carbon dioxide that's causing the problem. So any place you hear from somebody who's going to have a carbon neutral environment, they're really talking about carbon dioxide neutral. We want to get rid of that. So the beginning of this center is actually on carbon dioxide neutrality. And we're going to be working on solutions that will actually handle the issues related to carbon dioxide. It turns out that actually our industry, the industry that I grew with, the petroleum industry, actually has a solution. We have the ability to use massive amount of spaces underground to get rid of some of this CO2. So if you can come up with an operation that will actually have it make it kind of balance, whatever you produce, you can get rid of it, you can store it. I think we can come up with a balance. At the same time, the renewable industry actually is facing a major problem. And the problem has to do with the fact that we do need batteries and we do need the storage units. And so are there any large scale alternatives to batteries? And we think the petroleum industry, the bad guys, actually have the solution, because we're actually working on a project that will make it possible to repurpose many of the oil and gas well that was drilled, millions of them over the years, actually use them to store energy, compressed air in the subsurface, say in aquifers. So whether it's CO2, whether it's other greenhouse gases, we think that we have actually a solution for storage, and in order to enhance the development of renewable resources, actually, we think we have the solution. Yet, when we talk about carbon neutrality, we think there are ways that you can make new materials out of carbon dioxide. So that many of my colleagues in the material science department actually be working with me in terms of new materials, fibers, and new things that actually could be used in a construction environment. So the hope is that this center will actually be a source of inspiration of the development of new businesses and new opportunities. Already, I've received calls from people who see the opportunity and want to have a role in that, because a whole bunch of new industries is going to mushroom because of the fact that we're getting in this direction. So the Buntsman family really should get the credit, because we could have called this the Buntsman Center. But they're very gracious that actually took my name, put it on the center, and I'm indebted to their generosity and for the gift they've given this university. And I'm very thankful to Gary and Mary Buntsman for the naming of the center and for the family for supporting this effort. I'm also thankful to Dean Yorsis. He's a visionary man. In fact, I learned from him the engineering plus. What it means is that engineers, I mean, people can talk, but it's the engineer who solve problems, okay? So he actually had shown how the engineers can be involved in the cinema department, journalism department, public policy department. And so I can see that because of his visionary approach to this subject of engineering plus, actually the E-Cet will be interacting with many, many departments. And fortunately, we have the support of Ishwar Puri, who's here. Ishwar is the Vice President of Research at USC. And I was worried that he's going to approve this center or not. He did. Thank you very much. But having him on board, in a sense, means that we can interact with many other departments and with many other units on campus, because this is not all science and technologies, and many aspects of it has to do with public policy. I've had a number of cheerleaders on campus, and I can't name all of them, but one of them that I should do, because he always keeps me posted and he has promised some big money for me, is Mr. Poorman. I saw him back there, you know. So I'm waiting for his check to come in, actually. But I should also mention that among my cheerleaders and among my helpers, I've had many mentors in my life, besides my wife who mentors me every day. The technical mentor to me has been Don Paul. Don Paul, since he retired from Chevron, has been the executive director of the USC Energy Institute. And there is not a day that we exchange, several text messages talking about this. He always checks everything I write, everything I say, everything I do. The only thing he hasn't checked is what I'm presenting here. So thank you very much, Tom. Thank you for your support. You've been tremendous. And it was thanks to your visionary look at the digital transformation that we had the success we've had with CSAP. By the way, CSAP is still discontinued, and that's great. I also want to thank my boss, Dr. Under Hodge, who's somewhere here. I don't know whether he left or not, but she left. Anyway, maybe she's not here. Anyway, she's actually in the material science department. That's in the expertise, but she's actually chairing the Department of Moore Family. And this is the department that John Moore actually endowed. And thank you very much for remembering us all the time. And we are always grateful to the gift you give to the university. I'm also thankful to Martha Mukadam for the support she's given me. She's fantastic. She's one of the geniuses on campus. And I don't know if Andrea Armani is here or not, but she's been a tremendous supporter of me. And I'm very, very thankful for her support. And I should say that besides the research component, This center will also start focusing on conducting public sessions, seminars, workshops for the average public, for the science teachers, and because we think the transformation will require a mindset change. And I think that has to happen across the board in many, many communities. We've done that up to a point, but then now with the resources we have, actually we can become more active in that. Now, I should say that right after this center was announced, Cynthia Murphy, who represents the university relations at Chevron, actually directed some of the fellowship that Chevron has traditionally hired into this center. So, Gary, I should tell you that we have the Chevron support. This is tremendous, actually, in terms of both the seed funding and in terms of the fellowship. In fact, the website of the center will be on tomorrow. It's called E-Cet.usc.edu, and you will see that those of our colleagues and faculty who want to apply for money. This is the place to do it. Okay. I want to thank, of course, my wife, my family members, my daughters. My son couldn't be here; he's traveling, and my brother, who's actually here, his wife, and everybody else who has taken the time. I know you're very busy and participating and being here to support me. But more than anybody else, I should say that among the people who really helped to get this thing together is Christine. Where are you?
Christine.
Right there. There are not many people who get credit for that, but she is the architect of this whole thing. In fact, she didn't even tell me what's in the body. Just invited us to lunch. She said something is happening. I can't take it. And she kept me in suspense for some time until she announced it. But I want to thank you very much for all the work you've done and for all the connection you made. She actually works 24 hours work every 7 days a week because I get text messages from her late at night because she's very, very conscientious in terms of doing the work properly. Now, because many corporations are going to be joining actually the center supporting it, I'm thankful to Moreno for Moreno is right there. Actually, help. I should thank Meta. Where are you, Meta? Okay, Meta, thank you very much for organizing. She organized this whole reception, and I'm very thankful to you. And of course, Serene, the lab manager for us, who actually helped put the website together. And again, I want to thank you again, all of you, for the time that you've taken to attend the ceremony. And I want you to feel good because this is a center that's going to affect all of you, and I hope it will affect it in a positive way. Thank you.
Wow, that was fabulous. Congratulations once again. And Raj, you flatter me, and of course I'm the one who has been mentored by you throughout the time that I've been at USC, and I'm most grateful for that. I remember when you came to my lab and had all kinds of ideas, you brought some guests, and my students were just so flabbergasted by the presence of this, the level of intellect and the depth of thoughts and ideas that were given to them in just a short period of time. And really that's something that I aspire to, even if it's just a little percentage of what you have. That's fantastic. And also I should say, first of all, I noticed that you're the most technologically advanced of all of us. You have paper, and you have an electronic device for his notes. Put me to shame. And also another thing, anecdotally, Iraj has been also very generous with his ideas for a proposal that we've been putting together, an NSF proposal, and he attends most of our meetings online, and he has ideas, and he's just such a cheerleader for the whole team. Thank you for that. Now, since, indeed, thank you. Since the center's announcement, and you already mentioned that, Iraj, just a few weeks ago, the response has been extraordinary. Many people have already reached out asking how they can be involved, how they can help support the center and its mission. If you have the same questions, please feel free to contact all of us. Of course, Iraj and Don, lost Don right there, who are going to be leading the center, Iraj, of course, and then Iraj already mentioned Chris and Marina. Thank you for all your help. And so Chris and Marina will be great points of contact should you have any questions about the mechanism of the center. So this has been a wonderful afternoon. Thank you everybody so much again for being here and helping us celebrate this momentous occasion and the establishment of this very unique and pioneering center. We all look forward to working with you and help expand it in any way that we can. Also for those who are joining us online, thank you for being here. Much appreciate your time, and once again, thanks very much. Please help yourselves to more drinks and food.